The Burrows of Berea is a conversational podcast. We study the Bible and we talk about it.
Not all of us are of the same faith, and one of us doesn't actually have a faith.
And that's wonderful. We all love one another, and we're going to continue to talk about these things.
The things we believe in and the things we believe about what we read in the Bible. Not all of these are necessarily true. Some of it is opinion and speculation. Thank you for
listening and speculating with us.
There you go. That was good. Yes.
You are listening to the Burrows of Berea.
Well, welcome back to the Burrows of Berea. In case you can't tell, I am Sarita, the Edge Edgerton, and I'm hosting today. I'm so excited. To my left is Cherry, the Annihilator Lewis, who is going musicless today.
Thank you, Sarita.
Hello. And across from me is
Sucks so bad. It's terrible.
Straight out of Compton,
Let's
Ralph
drive.
Hicks.
Represent.
And then right next to him, to my right, is the OG Rick, the Podfather Welch.
Da-na-na, da-na-na. See? See how much better it is? Did you even introduce Andy?
Oh, he wasn't standing there, so I forgot about
I
him.
slipped her mind.
Hell, even
And
Andy's
behind the glass is Andy, Rocket Man Bishop.
Cow.
All right.
By the way, on our Halloween one, when you did that Picow song, that was deep.
That was.
Oh, yeah. No,
that was like, Picow.
there may have been
Some enhancement.
Yeah, some enhancement afoot.
Well, y'all, I am so excited. For our testimony today, I have quite possibly my bestest friend in the whole world besides my husband, Jenita Pace, with us. I don't even know how to introduce her because I love her to death and could talk about her for the whole hour myself. But I want her to talk about herself. But she is a published author, which I was so tickled to find out. She wrote this amazing devotional called The Healing Names of Jesus, which I have given to our cast members.
Yes, and you have signed it, Jenita. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
That is so kind.
We know somebody famous. We know
do.
lots of people famous. But
Yeah.
I'm so excited. But she has just been a dear friend to me. I think I was trying to count up the years. About 15, 16 years we've been friends since our 19-year-olds were about 3 or 4 years old. So, and we kind of met by fluke. So that might come out in our testimony. But she is the wife to Tim Pace, and she's the mother to Matthew and Carter, who are amazing young men, who I'm trying to get Carter to marry Ella, but that's not working out quite well just yet. The arranged marriage thing is not coming back.
We love us some Ella around here.
They love Ella.
We do.
Jenita loves Ella too.
We love her.
Who doesn't love Ella? I mean, yes, for sure.
Well, make it happen, Jenita. Come on.
I still I just want to go back to there. I would love a podcast where they just invited somebody on and then talked about them in front of him for an hour.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so besides the personal thing, she's got all these letters behind her name where she has masters in education, and she's a licensed counselor, and she lives in the cold Midwest of Minneapolis area, and where they see more snow than I think I have in my whole lifetime in 1 year. And but she is married to a Southern boy, so who's a pastor and also an amazing man with an amazing story of his own. They just have quite the testimonies between the two of them. So, Jenita, I'm going to turn it over to you. But our first question that we always ask every testimony is, to the best of your knowledge, when was the earliest mention of Jesus in your life?
Wow. That's a great question.
That's Rick's question. I can't take credit for that.
Well, Rick, and by the way, I if I had known you guys had all these superhero names, I would have come up with one for myself. But anyway, I think
I was going to say Jenita faster pace, but
It depends. It depends. What are all the letters for? Like, what sort of degrees do you have? I think that's kind of important in a superhero name.
True.
Just knowing kind of what your deal is.
Oh, right. All those letters. But what's so amazing about being a follower of Jesus is you suddenly realize that Jesus was, his earthly life, he chose to be a homeless carpenter. So I think we're all doing pretty well. But
That's a true statement.
That's a true statement. But I think, when I was young, when I was 8, my family first started talking about Jesus. But I think that Jesus didn't become real to me until I was about 18. I think there's a point where you either go on and meet him because you want to, or you don't because your parents made you and you decide to leave. So I have to say, I think I started carrying my own faith when I was about 18. Yeah.
All right, that's good. So you grew up in Bloomington. Is that correct?
Yeah. And for those of you that I've never been to Minnesota, but you like Star Wars, I'm living in Hoth, if that's how you can, I'm living on the planet where animals die in the cold. I mean, that's just where I'm living. Yeah.
And you grew up there and you have siblings?
I do. I grew up here. I have 2 brothers, and I have one who is local here with me and one who's in the military in Okinawa. So,
yeah, he's awesome. Carl's awesome.
Yeah, he's the baby of the family. And even though he's a big bad Marine who's a, captain, I still call him baby. So sorry, Carl.
I'm sure he appreciates that.
Well, I know he does.
Okay. And so you grew up pretty normal family?
Yeah, we, like I said, growing up, I mean, we had a very healthy family, and Carl was adopted when I was about 11 and from Korea. And so our family just finally felt complete, wonderful upbringing. But I turned, when I got into middle school, high school, I started struggling with health issues, and my doctor gave me an unlimited supply of a drug that turned out to be addictive. And so I went into having a prescription drug addiction pretty young, carried that into college, and didn't think I had a problem until I met Tim Pace, who said, "Hey, I think something's not right here." So
what drug was it?
It was.
Yeah, and can we have some?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It just seems kind of material to the story.
Oh my gosh. So,
That's Andy for you.
How do you say it? Like, I wish I had street lingo so I could just like keep riffing. Like, what are we talking about? C's and D's and Klonopins?
Exactly. And where did you get it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Benzos.
Oh, what doctor was this?
Exactly.
Is he still practicing?
I love
Well,
it.
does he
you'll
do
have to come to
telemed?
Planet Hall.
Planet
Yeah.
Hoth.
Is it a sensitive issue? What drug it is?
Oh no, I was just I
Okay.
interrupted and was saying I wish I knew the drug lingo.
It felt like it was being avoided, and you're just like,
What are you talking about? Klonopins, uppers, downers?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
what movie are you referencing? That's a thing.
there is a movie, and I
Yeah.
just can't remember what it is. Sorry.
No, you guys I'm loving this. So, it's interesting how when you start to get, I'm sure all of you have stories where, you think everything is great. And then you look back on your childhood, and it's not that anything was super catastrophic at that time. It's just, you see things that kind of like a foundation that starts to crack, and you don't notice the cracks until suddenly things start to fall apart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when was that? When Tim said, "Hey, I think there's something not right here"?
Yeah, so we got married, and he started saying, "I think you really need to, this muscle relaxer that you're on, you're overusing it. You're using it for the wrong things." So Tim, I mean, now he looks back and this was a mistake, but he decided to just flush all of them and make me cold turkey quit, which, looking back, that was not probably the way to go. And without
There's
that,
definitely a lot of drugs that muscle relaxers are they benzos?
No.
No, yeah, because benzos, I know you can't cold turkey.
No. Mm-mm.
So there's something
Yeah.
you can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And for me, it wasn't even, I think that for me, it was, I would just take these pills when I started to feel nervous, and they would just relax me.
Mhm.
And the underlying issue was I didn't know how to deal with stress. I didn't know how to deal with anxiety, because I'd had drug, this prescription to just kind of help me calm down. And so as my life got more and more difficult, we had a lot going on at that time in our lives. I spiraled into a really deep depression, and it happened so fast that I look back, and I know it was biological too, but man, I started thinking things like, Tim would be better off without you. You are not contributing to society. You'd be better off dead. And these thoughts just, they got so dark and so quick that there was a point where it actually felt like it was more logical to end my life than to stay alive. And for, if you haven't struggled with that, that might sound completely incomprehensible, but I'm telling you, if you are in that dark of a place, you really do feel that way. I tell people it felt like I fell into a well and I broke both my arms on the way down. And you're laying at the bottom and you don't know how to get out, and you don't want anyone to have to crawl in to get you. And so,
because you don't need help.
yeah, I mean, well, and you're aware that, you don't
Because
want
it's
to
not worth it.
But you don't want to
Because
be
it's
an
not worth it.
inconvenience for everyone
Yes.
around you. You don't want your problem to be everybody else's problem.
Exactly. Like you don't want to make other people you love have to crawl into this dark place and get you out. You start to believe that it would be better for them if you just didn't exist anymore, because then they wouldn't have to save you. And so that lie really took hold of me. And then I remember deciding that, yes, I would end my life. And so I waited for Tim to go. He worked Wednesday night at church. So I waited for him to leave, and I kind of had everything that I was going to do. But he forgot something and he came home. And so he walked in and realized what was happening. And, we both just started crying. I mean, I'm sure everyone all of us have had those moments where you just realize your life is never going to be the same. And so he forced me to go to the hospital, and I fought him. I physically fought him. He took me there, and I was cussing him out, and I was, telling him that he didn't understand what was best for him and for me. When I got to the hospital, they admitted me against my will, which they should have, but it's scary. And if anyone listening has been to a psychiatric hospital, it's terrifying. Even now, years later, it's still, I still remember being so scared. And
they're pretty universally known to not be very
pleasant.
Good institutions. I mean, not even just the experience, but the institutions in the U.S. are kind of on the shoddy side for that service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, it's the closest thing to prison, just because they don't know how to keep you safe yet until they get to know you. So it's not funny, but it is funny. I remember them taking me, and they took away my shoes, and I said, why are you taking my shoes? And they said, well, you can't have your shoelaces because you might hang yourself. And I said, well, I didn't think about that. Oh, you can't have toothpaste because you might swallow the fluoride, and you can't have a light. And I finally said, this is really inappropriate probably, but I finally said to the woman, I'm not creative enough to come up with these ideas. Like, you're taking everything away from me. You don't understand. Like, I'm too lost right now to even be thinking about those things.
Not to mention everybody's shuffling around with really bad breath in there.
Yeah, right?
Oh
my goodness.
And I remember being so scared, and I couldn't sleep, and they let me have my Bible. And so I didn't even know what to read. I was just flipping through the pages. And there's this Psalm 121, where it talks about that God watches over us while we sleep. He never leaves us. We can look up to the mountains. Where does our help come from? It comes from God. And I just read that over and over every day for 10 days, constantly. And when I finally got out of the hospital, I went home, and of course, everyone had heard what happened, and they were trying to reach me, and I had all these messages. And, but one message just hit me, because it was a good friend, Steve, who was a professor of mine in college. And he said, Jenita, I don't know what's going on. I heard that you're not in a good place, but I just felt really inspired to read this Psalm to you. And he read Psalm 121. I know. And it was just, it was just one of those moments where you think, okay, I don't know what's coming. I don't know what's going to happen, but there must be something to this. Like, God is still here. God is doing something. And so Steve had his wife, Pat, came to mentor me, and Pat, very short, very feisty woman. I didn't want to see anybody. And she basically just said, well, I'm coming. So,
you have a history with people who just barge themselves in on your life, don't you? I'm speaking about myself.
And she just, she called me and say, are you out of bed? And I would say, no. And she'd say, okay, I'm coming over. So she'd come over. And what I loved about her is, instead of preaching to me or giving me a lot of books or being like, you just need to pray more, she was being a very practical, hands-on love for me. Like, hey, let's get you out of bed. Let's get, it's time for a shower. She would read, she would tell me Bible stories, or she'd pray for me, but she understood why I was frustrated with God. And so she started mentoring me, and we, saw each other every day. And about 3 months into, no, not even 3 months, more like 4 weeks into her mentoring me, Tim called me and said, hey, Pat died suddenly last night. And I was just, I was angry with God. Like, you took my person. You took the one person who seems to understand this, and you took her. And now what do you want me to do? And so I was crying, and I put my shoes on, decided to walk down to our mailbox, which was down the street. And when I got there, I opened it, and there was a card from Pat that she'd mailed the morning she passed away. And in it, she wrote, Jenita, I'm going to write this down because you never believe me. God's going to use what's going on with you. Like, this story is not finished. And I know you don't think there's a purpose, but there is. So it just felt like, oh my gosh, it felt like a card from the other side. Just a reminder, a written reminder that there was a purpose for this. So we decided to move to Minnesota.
I mean, when does that happen? I mean, think about it. When does this happen? Like, I was thinking about your husband, Tim, who suddenly forgot something and had to come back. If he didn't come back, then where's the story go? We know where it goes, right? So that happens. And then this person that's mentoring you, and then all of a sudden, you know, she's gone and you're upset, but then you get a card and she mails. I mean, how many signs do you need?
Right.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
I mean, I love that you stopped and just captured that, because it felt like I'm in the midst of this just blackness, and I keep getting these flashlights that kind of lead me that there's still room ahead. Like, we still keep going. But yeah, it's good to look back and realize that's just miraculous. And of course, I didn't believe her that it was going to be worthwhile, but I had the card, and so we moved to Minnesota to be with my family, and I started going to therapy. And as I started learning these skills, I remember telling my therapist as I was learning them, hey, I think I want to be a therapist someday. And he was like, oh, that's really cute that you think that, but you just need to.
Yeah.
Aren't you precious? Bless your heart.
I mean, just the look of like, oh, honey, I'm so glad you're motivated.
You're basically, you're sitting on that side of the table saying, I can do your job.
I wonder how frequently therapists hear that.
I know.
That might be a part of it.
But she's a therapist, so how frequently do you hear that, Jenita?
Right.
I hear it once in a while. I do. And
well, I think it's natural. That's natural.
Because
And
you're
what do you
in an
say?
environment.
Bless your heart.
Yeah.
You're in an environment where that's the work you're doing, and it's about you. So inevitably it's
About
interesting. Right?
It is.
So you look at the whole thing and you're like, wow, this whole thing is really actually super interesting and important to people.
Yeah.
It's a natural extension of therapy is to be interested about therapy.
Yeah. When you start getting help for yourself,
Yeah.
you want to turn that around.
When you see it working.
Yeah.
When
I
you
did the
feel
same
it and
thing.
know
No,
it's
it
working.
totally makes sense.
Absolutely.
well, yeah. And I never discount when a client says that, because I think when I look back, my early therapists, although they were kind people, there was a period where therapists were trained not to share anything about their personal lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that to be very difficult then to trust them, because I didn't know them. And I was coming into one of the reasons I wanted to become a therapist is I thought, wow, I think that it would be nice as a client if I was talking to a therapist who had depression. That would be very nice. It would help me feel safe. And so I started to realize, wow, there might be power actually in going through this, finding skills, learning how to use my faith, and then being a therapist. And so, I mean, I'm not blaming my therapist for thinking that was kind of a lofty goal. But what I do love about my faith is that if you know the Bible is full of God choosing the unlikely. He loves to do that.
Sure.
I mean, everybody, I mean, it's just like American movies. The person that becomes the hero is the one that you don't think is ever going to be able to do it. That's kind of the theme.
Yeah, and it really is. I think it's the case for every single one of them in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you really find a character where they were naturally doing this and then God just used them that naturally? That wasn't a villain? You know what I'm saying?
I don't
Not
think
that I
so.
can think of off the top of my head.
I mean,
but
so that's a great point. Good point that you bring up.
maybe John the Baptist. He was groomed from
That's a good
early.
point.
Birth, yeah.
That dude ate bugs, man, and wore camel's
That
hair.
dude ate bugs and honey.
I bet you camel's hair is itchy.
I bet camel
Guarantee it
hair
is.
is itchy.
We're taking up all of Janita's time talking about bugs and
I think she's right though. Like I'm not a depressive person, but I understand that there's a level of that I will never be able to understand. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah.
Well, there's a biblical concept for that is we comfort those with the comfort we've been given.
Mhm.
And you naturally gravitate towards people who have done what you've done. I counsel women who've had abortions. I mean,
Well, yeah, it's something you
because
have
I've been
experience
through
with.
it.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not that it can't be done. And I'm not a licensed counselor, so let me put that out there. But, I try to comfort with the knowledge that I have about my own heartache and path towards mercy and forgiveness and grace.
But I felt exactly like Jenita did whenever I was in therapy, because I came up in that same time, Jenita, where you couldn't, they wouldn't tell you about your personal life. And now, far removed from it, 25 years later, I look back and I say, I know 2 people who are actual therapists. I'm not saying a word of who they are, but I can tell you this much. Those people don't need to be helping anybody. It's bizarre. Like, to me, it's like, that's weird. I mean, trained or not, their life is a train wreck, and it's just bizarre to me.
Therapists you really need to find the
right
right one. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's
All
a good
right,
point you make.
So
Sorry
back
about
on
that.
your path, you're talking to this person, you want to be a therapist. How does this progress?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was working and, it didn't seem like the time that I had to go back to school. And we had
When did you come back to the promised land?
Oh, AKA Asheville, North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah.
Yes.
I thought she was talking about like her faith in Jesus
Yeah,
or
me
something.
too.
I'm talking about the South where it's warm.
The South.
Yeah.
So my husband lost his job and we were about to lose our house. It was just this crisis in our marriage and we weren't doing well in our marriage. And we decided to move back to his hometown because we had an opportunity to have a house there. And we're going to try to start over as a couple. And I think a lot of couples go through those crises. So we moved down there and I just could not land a job. And there was a program at Western Carolina University for masters in counseling. And they're only taking 30 people. And I thought, well, I'll apply. So I applied and I just told my whole story, like addiction and depression, like previous marriage problems. I mean, I just laid it all out there and thought, well, if they're not interested in taking broken people, then I'm out. And they only had like 30 spots. And they had like 100 applicants and they took me, which was amazing. And so I think Western Carolina was thinking in a new direction that maybe we need to have people who are real helping people who are broken.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I got started. And it's been very powerful. But I still kept my story a secret for years. And I didn't share it until just maybe 5 years ago. A lot of people didn't even know. And I felt like I moved forward.
Including me.
I know. Because I moved on and I thought that's not me anymore. And that's not my life. And then there's a moment where God kind of was showing me like, okay, it's time now. It's time to bring this out. It's time to use it. But I was scared because you don't know if people are going to receive it. Like, this is a great counselor for me because she had attempted suicide years ago, or if they're going to be like, this woman has no business being a counselor. You don't know which way they're going to go. But I've been surprised how many people feel that it's actually very helpful.
Who did I call when my son was in the same position?
Mm-hmm.
That was you. Because I knew you knew. And she got me with the right therapist. And now he has looked at and he has said, I'm going to be a therapist. And he is going to go probably to Grand Canyon University, has one of the greatest counseling programs, and hopefully, and go there and do that. So, but I knew who to call because she had shared her story with me.
It's beautiful country up there.
I'm curious, Jenita. So would you say because I'm talking from a personal and a professional perspective in regards to suicide. Do you feel like as a therapist, knowing all of the things that you learned as a therapist, that having the personal side of it, like when you talk to somebody, do you bring in that? Do you say, I know how that feels, I've been there? And do you recognize what those people are saying when they're in that position?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm able to come close to them in that moment and be able to identify that I know exactly what you're feeling. And it's been helpful. to have it where they don't even really have to be able to articulate it for me to know. I mean, there's times when I just look at them, they look at me, and we just know. We just know what it feels like. We know what it feels like to be that hopeless. And sometimes I can articulate it for them because we're on the same page. And I think I'm not judging other counselors. I think sometimes other counselors, if you haven't been in that place, it might be a little harder to understand. Or I went to a therapist training a few years ago, and I remember sitting in the audience, and the therapist that was presenting, very well educated, obviously had been doing it for a long time, but they were talking about people who were suicidal like they were zoo animals.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So if you should see one, here's what to do.
Don't stare at them in the eyes.
I thought, well, I'm not judging, but to be able to draw close to someone.
Come here.
Oh
Come
my
over
goodness.
here. Like call him like an animal.
Don't feed the ant. Don't feed the suicidal people.
Oh, jeez.
Right. And to be able to draw close to someone and not freak out because you've been there, not panic, and to be able to assure them, like, look, and sometimes I'll tell them, look, I was right where you are, and I'm a therapist now. So dream big. Like, the possibilities are really endless on what you can do.
Ask another question. Yeah. I have another question for you.
Sure.
So you said that earlier that, you had heard about Jesus around the age of 8, but he didn't become real to you really until you were about the age of 18. And then you described a time when you were in college, and then you described a time when you were married and were having issues with like pills and addiction and stuff. And then issues, in your marriage where the fact that you have become an addict to these things. Where is Christ in the midst of all this?
You mean in all the stories?
Yeah, like so, like at 18, was 18 like a salvation experience time, or was that when it became real to you? Like how?
Yeah, great question. I think that I grew up knowing Jesus, believing in Jesus. Then there was a period, senior year, beginning of college, where I went the other direction, and I just said, kind of middle finger to Jesus, like, I don't want you. You were from my parents, but you're not for me. Kind of went the other direction. And then I got really lonely, and I was at the University of Minnesota at that time. I was actually a pre-law student at that time. And I met a girl who was in a Christian, she was part of this Christian ministry on campus. And she was really kind, and she saw me for who I was, and invited me to just come meet her friends. And it's amazing how much that kind of kindness can change someone. And to have a community say, oh man, we see that you're not fitting in, you're struggling. Well, we'll be your friends. And then, I mean, just the power of being loved. It's amazing when people love you.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got me to go to this international prayer weekend. We're learning about the church all over the world and some of the trauma other Christians are facing. And I just left thinking, I don't think I want to be a lawyer. I don't know what I want to do, but I think I want to learn more about the Bible. I want to do this for me. And so I transferred to a Bible college.
So what's the sequence of events with the, how does this line up time-wise to the other half of your personal story that you were telling?
Yeah. So I transferred to Bible college. I was still using all of that I was using that drug all through that period, but I can honestly say I did not think I was addicted.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly thought I'm just using it and it's just helping me. And
it was normal.
I didn't think I have a problem. Got to Bible college and
she went to Columbia International in Columbia
International. Yeah. Down in the South, Promised Land. And driving in on campus, I saw this guy walking with this girl and he was paying such good attention to her. And I said to my mom, I want a guy like that. Like, look how respectful he is. Well, God gave me that guy.
Literally that guy?
I mean, yes. I mean, I wanted a guy like that, but God just gave me that guy. Yeah, that guy. I got Tim Payne.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we still laugh about
She ran over and chained that girl up somewhere, right?
They still hadn't found her body yet.
Oh, man.
That took a turn.
Yeah.
We've been laughing about Sarita's morbid sense of humor all day.
You know, that's why Sarita and I are friends. That's all good.
You have the same morbid sense of humor. That's great.
Kill and bury people. That's
Yes,
all
it's
good.
awesome.
It's all
She
good.
knows
Y'all are
that
some
if-
real good friends.
She knows that if it's necessary, I will help her hide the body.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I know you would. I know you would. So we started dating, and then we only dated 3 months, and we knew we were gonna, I mean, we just knew. So we got married, but that's when Tim said, yeah, you have a problem. This is an issue.
Hmm.
So thus began the cold turkey attempt, which didn't work. But and it's not because of Tim, it's not because I married Tim that I went into crisis. But if you are newly married, you're going to get married, or like there is a big adjustment. And I think a lot of it was my life changed radically, in a short period of time, and then not having that substance, it all just kind of crashed.
So is there like a convert? I don't mean to keep asking questions, but I'm just really curious. Is there like all right, so you knew Jesus, it wasn't for you, it was for your parents. Then you met these people. Now you've made the decision to go to Bible college. Like, is there ever a conversion experience, or is this just more of like a translation from one position to the other, kind of sort of over time?
Yeah. For me, I think it was slow. It was gradual, because Jesus came to me in the form of these other people. And, for anyone listening, I mean, when someone shows you unconditional love, and there's a group of people that show you unconditional love, you're actually experiencing Jesus, which is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about how those women, by just showing up for me every week and loving me, they drew me into the Bible. I started to see Jesus as he really is, which this unconditional love, this unconditional support, and who doesn't want to be in a relationship with a God who loves unconditionally? I mean, that's amazing. And so I feel like Jesus pulled me towards him using these women. And then once I got close enough to understand who he was, I was all in. I mean, once I understood that I could have a relationship with a God who knew everything about me and still loved me so deeply, who was willing to sacrifice himself if that's what it took to get to me, that was a whole new Jesus that I had never really seen before.
Yeah, it's amazing how when that happens, how the changes begin to occur from the inside. Now it starts working its way out from the inside. I love it when that moment, you can see that in people. I love that.
Yeah, it went from like fact knowledge to heart experience.
Oh yeah.
That was that was a transition for me. So yeah. Yeah.
Sorry to take you all on that aside there.
No, that's good.
No, I like that.
And part of this is because I know her so well. Parts of the story might be getting left out because I do know her so well. So it's good to ask questions when I may have skipped over something or whatever. But fast forward to, let's say you're now living in Hendersonville. You moved down here. So we're going back to that story. You're living in the Hendersonville, Asheville area. And Tim is, so what, how does, and you're in school, so, and you have a child.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
a baby, a small child.
Yeah, and we are dirt poor. I tell you what. If you want to be poor, both of you go back to grad school, have a kid. That's all it takes.
That's the recipe for dirt poorness.
You want to break your budget? There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, but a side journey that Tim and I have been on, is Tim has a very rare brain condition, which we found out not long after we got married. And so part of the side journey we've always been on is Tim's had 4 brain surgeries. He just, he has these major medical issues. And so part of the challenge too has been, having to be strong when he can't be strong physically.
All right.
And
So, but before you go farther, couldn't get the word progress out of my mind. But his brain condition is a condition that he should not have survived to adulthood. He has literally half a brain.
Yeah. Yes.
So every time he beats me at a board game, I get beaten by somebody with half a brain. Yeah. It's pretty humbling, but I mean, it's serious, and we kind of laugh about it and joke about it, but the progression of this has been so serious, and the numbers of brain surgeries, and sometimes you're the one holding up the family because he can't at that point.
Yeah. And I think part of the challenges when we got into North Carolina was we were far away from Mayo Clinic, which is they are just he's their pet. And
He's their zoo animal.
do you want to know? They even sent us, this is so bad. This is when you know your life is not right. They sent us free luggage because we come so much.
Oh, wow. That is
That's bad.
That's the frequent flyer program.
That is for sure.
I mean, it's like, do you want to have that kind of a gift? And it was such a nice, scary moment. Like, wow. Okay.
A nice gesture, but yeah, a reminder maybe as well.
I mean, if you had half a brain, you would have got the too soon. I just learned.
No, I mean, I love when Tim and I go to mixers because we won't know people and, share something no one knows about you. I'm like, please, Tim, don't do it.
Does he do the two truths and a lie?
I have half a brain, and everyone laughs, and he's like, no, I have half a brain. Oh, okay.
I bet he likes both halves of that joke. Because there's clearly two halves to that joke.
There is.
Yeah. The first one is on him, and the second one is on them.
That's right.
It's a nice turn.
It is.
It's great.
It's a beautiful turn. And so I think part of facing off with depression is there are times when you're not depressed just because it's biological. There's life is hard. You feel like you're under so much pressure and you're under so much difficulty. And so again, moving to a place I've never lived with a husband who has major medical issues, needing community and trying to find friends. And again, God, I stumble into a group of women who show me Jesus's love and pick up where the women in Minnesota left off. And again, how cool that God places people just along the path that you find at just the right moment.
We met at Chick-fil-A. We had a Chick-fil-A-ship.
The Lord's chicken.
We had the Lord's chicken.
I've probably missed out on several good relationships.
Because you don't like Chick-fil-A.
I don't like Chick-fil-A.
No.
But yeah, we did meet. And everybody knows that I'm just kind of a bully. I just kind of push my way into people's lives. And that's just kind of what I did with Jenita. How can I help you? Let me pick up your kid from preschool. Let me bring you dinner. Let me do these things. And she was like, nope. I got it. And I just kind of pushed my way in like I do. So. Yeah. And that's God. He knew that I needed you. You are the Pat, people that come in and say like, I think there's a moment where you realize you're stealing people's opportunity to be the hero. And that's really important to give people. And so, not that to add complications, Tim is he is literally one of the most accident prone humans on this planet. And right after he moved here, he was in a motorcycle accident that broke his collarbone and his other wrist. So he couldn't use either hand. Like it got to be funny. Like when he wanted to go somewhere, I'd have to strap him in with the seatbelt. But then when we get there, I'd forget to unbuckle it. So I'd get out and start walking in and then like, oh crap.
That's a great way to put him in timeout.
There you go. Just strap him in.
I would do that to Rodney on purpose.
I guarantee it. I was thinking it. You said it.
Wow.
The man already has half a brain, and then he just adds a little spice here. I needed Sarita a lot because, it's like I married a Chevy that the year that they don't ever want to mention again. You know what I mean? It's like you buy the lemon, but
thank you for saying that because Ford is the best, and there's so many fights down here about it.
I'm sitting there thinking,
I just had to get that in there.
Chevys are pieces of crap. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you.
Friends don't let friends drive Chevys.
Oh my gosh. So I think it's just amazing how important community is. And I think that's one of the things I want to help people see too.
Well, it sounds like you're a pretty tough lady though. You had a lot of support, but it sounds like you had a lot on you and you've already been through depression and all these other things. So you've got all this going on. You've got a child and you've got your husband and you're feeling all this stuff. Yeah. You're just doing it, right? You're just doing it.
I always find it interesting to see people who have problems, but like so frequently when those people have to rise to the occasion, they do with like such incredible reliability that they cannot themselves see.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that looks like, I can never tell. Is that good for that person? That responsibility, the kind of, I'm going to do it because I have no choice. Is that good for that person, or is that not good for that person?
I think it depends on the person, because
Well, I think that's the fight or flight, isn't it? And
I know
a
people
lot
that
of times we can't fly, we can't leave. We
I know
have to
people that
fight.
can't do anything in a group, but alone in a group, but alone they will always solve their own problems. You know, and I don't know. I think it's a weird question, but like, how much does having no options, how much does that make you? How good is that for you, or is it just like fear the whole time?
Yeah. Answer that question, Jenita. Personally.
Yeah, take that, Jenita.
I mean, I think it's an interesting
It
question.
is. It's a great question.
I
I
don't
think
know
it's,
that.
and it probably depends on the human
Right,
being.
you can only answer it for yourself.
Right.
Well,
Right.
and let's talk about her in regard to that question. You know, I just said that her past, she shows that she has all the. I'm talking
Yeah.
about
that's
you. You're right here.
Yeah.
You know, but it's here. She is now. She's down here. She has to face it. So, in regard to his question, what do you think? Was it good or was it bad?
That's a great question.
Does it
And I
help
would-
you to be needed?
Well, yes. And I think there's two sides to that. Absolutely. I think that, for people that are struggling, it's really important. If everybody wants to be needed, everybody wants to have something to call their own, to have to do. I think for me, the difference was I had tried to do it on my own for so long that there is also a gap where you realize that you can't do life alone. And so, yeah, if you're facing off with something, it's good that you have something that is motivating you to get out of bed. And at the same time, being aware that everybody needs help. Everybody needs help. And I don't feel like our culture teaches us that.
I
Like,
think
it
you're
don't-
absolutely right.
Yeah,
The people who they
we're
don't.
not- Yeah, we're not encouraged to band together and face life. We're encouraged to, do it ourselves, be independent.
That's not our culture for sure.
Yeah,
I remember-
pick yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
Get to work.
Which is literally a joke about doing the impossible.
Yeah.
I want to point out that's its origin, even though it's not necessarily used that way. That thing's origin is a joke about doing the impossible. That is a joke.
Really.
Yeah, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, Rick.
I'm getting ready to.
Try it.
Yeah,
You ready?
It's literally, it's a joke.
good luck
It's
with
a
it.
joke about doing the impossible, and now we tell people to do it unironically.
Isn't that funny?
All right, so I do want
I never
to.
even thought about that.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Never even thought about
Literally,
it.
the origin is humorous.
Wow.
Absolutely, 100% true.
Yeah.
So Jenita gets this degree that she's been working for. Tim has this job as a pastor at Grace Church over on Airport Road. And you have a job over in Haywood County.
Wait a
right?
minute. You talking about Grace Presbyterian?
Yeah.
Right beside the Land Rover place?
Yeah.
No way. I used to go there.
What?
I
Tim
did.
Pace was a pastor there.
Yeah.
way.
Do you remember Dusty McNabb? Well, let me think. What would have been her married name? She was over the art department, the theater department. Dusty.
Dusty Road.
Yeah.
It's been so long. No, we
Because that was
loved
Dave Disforge's church, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Josiah Bancroft was
Yeah.
there for a while.
Absolutely. Yep.
Colin Thornley is still a really good friend of mine.
I
Love
went
that
there.
man.
I went to that church. They had a wonderful theater department. They were so awesome.
So
Yes.
there you go. So he's got a job there. She's got a great job working with teenagers that she loves.
Mhm.
And they have this young man as a child who was just growing up to be amazing. And then what happens, Jenita?
And
It's
then
kind of a pattern. Pat comes along, she
Yeah.
dies. Life is good, something bad. Okay, so
Yeah.
what happens?
Yeah, so we found our rhythm in North Carolina. My husband and I, we fell back in love in North Carolina. We had built a great community. We had jobs we liked and we loved. We bought a house. And then you know what it's like when something happens in your life and one day you know nothing about the disease and then the next day you know everything about it.
Because you
you're
Googled
about
it.
to Take it on. I mean, it's coming hardcore. And that's what it was. My mom suddenly got what's called Guillain-Barré syndrome, French polio, and total fluke. but it paralyzed her complete body. So she was mentally there, but she couldn't move. She couldn't breathe on her own.
Wow.
And so I flew home and realized, like, we have to move back to Minnesota because we're all going to have to help her fight this disease. And so that began months of being at the hospital and seeing if she would survive. And we had to take shifts, be there around the clock, because she couldn't move. So if she needed something, there was no way for her to ask for help. And, again, you're asking God, like, okay, what are you doing? You think you're going one direction and you're pretty sure you finally figured it out. And then suddenly you're going a different direction. And so people ask me now, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm just like, I hope I'm alive. I have nothing else to tell you.
Wherever he sends me.
But her mom has made an amazing recovery.
Yeah.
Miss Teresa is
How do you
a ball
recover
of
from
fire.
You
A
can't.
God's miracle.
David Curtis did. Same thing.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, she's disabled now, but man, yeah. We didn't think she would survive.
She's still a ball of fire.
She is, and she is the neatest woman. On her birthday, because she walks with she has braces, and so she, when you meet her that she has a physical disability. On her birthday, she will take a bunch of $5 bills. She'll write verses on it, and she will just walk around her neighborhood, meet strangers, give them the money, and tell them her story about how God saved her and pray for them. That's what she does every year on her birthday. But again, it's really neat to see when you go through something so hard and so terrible, when you come out on the other end, how it just revolutionizes how you see your life. And I've seen that in her. And so the interesting thing is, in the midst of it, I was really mad at God. And by the way, he can take it when you're mad at him. He wants to hear your voice. I would tell him, like, there's no reason for this. Why are you doing this? Like, you can't do this. This is wrong. And he was so patient, listening to me tell him how it was going to be. And as we went along, the months got longer, and she finally started to show she was recovering. And then when she finally came out of it, I saw my parents' marriage was stronger than ever. And we moved back here, and we've, this is where I ended up telling my story, writing my book. I've seen my sons thrive. And actually, my younger son, we met him here in Minnesota and adopted him just a few years ago. So had we not moved back, and had we not had my mom get sick, none of those things would have happened. Mm-hmm. And so now I think if I had a portal to go back in time, I would have to choose, weirdly enough, to have my mom go through Guillain-Barré in order to see all of those amazing things take place. And so for anyone listening that's struggling, there might be something good coming, and you don't know. And I wish your future self could come visit yourself now to see what God will bring about. But yeah, at the time I was not happy, and now I get to see all of the good. But it took a while,
And speaking of books, she has written a book called, just a devotional, but a book called The Healing Names of Jesus, Find Freedom from Depression and Anxiety. And it goes through, she's also written a Bible study that I've done about, what was it, the waters?
Oh, yeah, Overcoming Fear.
Overcoming Fear. That I've done that she sent me. I got to try it out. It was awesome. But anyway, it's kind of a devotional, 31 days, and it's the Lamb and the Shepherd. It's different names of Jesus, which is kind of where I got my inspiration for the one that we did. I took some of it from here. But she's an amazing person, and my life is richer because she's in it. And I think she's got another book in the works, maybe?
Well, that's yet to be seen. I'll have to keep that. Yeah.
Maybe.
But
she's going to write a book about me. Crazy people. It's called Crazy People.
Drawing boundaries with crazy people.
Yes.
Right.
Her boundaries are so hard, she had to go to Minnesota to get away from me.
That's the boundaries. Hey, I just accidentally opened this book up to page 110. Can I read a little bit of this? Listen to this.
Go.
Listen to this. Jesus is the Father's only Son. The Father has a love for His Son that is deeper than any love we can comprehend. Much like an older brother, Jesus chose to accept torture and death to pay for our adoption. I love that. It is the greatest love story of all time. I made a mistake in thinking that Jesus' sacrifice ended there, but in a way, His death was only the beginning of His payment for us. Yeah. And see, it makes me want to keep reading, but I can't.
Right.
I'll read it tonight when I get home.
I'm
Can't
in
wait.
it somewhere. You'll have to figure it out.
Huh?
I'm in it.
Oh, you are?
I am.
All right.
Good.
Yeah, she's that crazy lady
I'm
from
the crazy
Chick-fil-A.
lady in it.
I'll be looking for you, Sarita.
And then she said, "It's my pleasure,"
It's my pleasure.
and handed me some
Yeah.
chicken nuggets.
Well, Jenita, it has been a pleasure to have you on. Does anybody else have any more questions for her?
Other than the final one?
Yep.
I was
There's a
going to
final?
mention that. I was like, what about the Billy question?
Yeah.
Well, Billy is normally here, and his nickname is Eye Candy. I'll give you an.
He lives up to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even I think he's cute.
He is one
Andy
sexy
thinks he's
dude.
cute.
Even I think he's cute.
But he's not here, so Cherry's going to have to ask you the question. Cherry?
Okay. So when you pass away, where do you believe you go from there?
Oh man. Okay, really quick because I know I don't have much time. I had a dream about this, and it
Oh.
was revolutionary for me. I know. Bottom line is, in my dream, I died in a car accident, and everybody was trying to save me, but I didn't want them to because I felt so free. And I turned around and I'm walking up this hill, and there's Jesus dressed all in gold with his eyes are fire, and he was jumping up and down. He was so excited to see me. And I think I was shocked because I expected some formal process. But the minute he got close to me, he just hugged me. And he's like, "You made it. You made it." And then he said, come see what I've prepared for you. And I remember in the dream thinking, oh, this is the place prepared for me, just like the Bible says. And beautiful door. And when I stepped in, it was a forest. And my favorite dog who passed away came running up, and I just stood there. And he said, "Do you like it? Do you like it?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I just thought it was like going to be a bedroom or something." And he said, "No, like I know you in and out. I've had all eternity to prepare a place. Why would I not put your favorite things in here?"
Oh.
And I had a horse, and it was waterfalls. And so, I mean, again, I'm not a prophet, but it was the first time that I realized I can't wait to get there.
Mm.
It's prepared for me. I'm excited. So I
That
can't
might
wait
be
to
the best answer we have ever had.
So she goes to a forest with a dog. That's
And a
where she
horse.
goes. And a horse.
She
yeah,
loves her
that's cool.
horse.
Sounds
Yep.
nice to me.
She does horse riding,
Yep.
horseback riding therapy.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
So, hey, I don't know where I'll be in 5 years, but I'm ready to, whenever I get there, I'm going to be right where I want to be.
Well,
So-
tell the people where they can find out more about you.
Okay. So my website is threeriversmn.com, spelled out threeriversmn.com. So on there's a video about my story, and there's resources. And so that's where they can get all the information and links to how to get the book. Again, the book came about because I just wrote down all of the things that I used to survive all of these things that have happened. And then I thought maybe I should publish it so other people can use it. So for $15, you can know all of my secrets on how I survived.
What was the name of the book again?
The Healing Names of Jesus.
The Healing Names of Jesus. I have one for you. I just didn't give it to you before you closed the door. So
Yes.
Oh, is that what the package is? Ooh, gifts.
It's in the package. You both have a book in my car also.
Okay, awesome.
So,
I love books.
yes, me too.
Well, my beautiful friend.
She's got a joke.
Oh yeah, Cherry has a joke.
What do ghosts pick at? Boogers. Yes.
Good
boogers.
That's new.
Yes.
I've never heard that.
What?
No?
You don't have small children, clearly.
Yeah.
You want to hear another one?
Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. What uses shoes but has no feet?
I'm not good at these.
No, I'm not either.
A sidewalk.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
These are the ones your little girl told you?
Yes, I love hearing her.
That's her granddaughter, Callie,
Yes, Callie.
told those
What
jokes.
has 18 eyes, 18 legs, and catches flies?
Two
A spider?
A spider. 18 eyes and 18 legs.
I don't know. They got too many.
A baseball team.
Oh.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's all right.
And those are the clean jokes that we decided to use for Janita's episode.
Yes.
Oh, you can't shock me. No.
No.
She has kids.
Her little brother's a Marine. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
let's
it's
be
true.
honest.
And she's a therapist.
Yes.
You ain't shocking her.
That's true.
No, and I've worked in high schools. You can't.
Ooh,
She worked
yeah.
on me.
Ooh,
Man.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's worse than like the Korean War or something, I guess.
Yeah.
High school.
I'm sure.
I've heard some pretty nasty
Yeah.
stuff coming out of those Mouths.
I
Kids.
taught high school as well. Yeah.
Forget about it.
Well,
Forget
forget
about it.
about it.
Anyway.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you and see your beautiful face. So the people on the podcast can't see you, but they can hear you.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, you guys. You guys are a blast. And I'm, I love hearing you guys are fun. I love hearing your superhero names. I'd love to.
When you do your women's study, you ought to bring her in.
We should do that.
Janita. I'm not going to be a part of this women's study. We're going to do some women's studies, and she's going to lead it, and her and Cherry and Tiziana. And you could come on up in here, because I'm not a woman.
Neither
You don't
am I.
identify as one?
I don't identify. No.
I'll do it for the afternoon when we do the study.
Okay. We need you. You identify as a sound engineer, and we need that. So
Yes.
yes.
Well, thanks for having me, you guys. What a fun group and what an honor. So,
Well, give my love to Tim and Matthew, and I guess I could go give my love to Carter. He's in Columbia, so.
oh yeah, and hey, I know you don't have any boundaries. You'll be down there. I could give you his class schedule.
Listen,
I could give you his class schedule, or you could just send Ella. Just send Ella.
I'll send Ella down to find him. Yeah, I texted him. He hadn't texted me back.
That's the one you guys want to marry?
Yes.
Send Ella.
We'll send Ella.
Send Ella.
She does have a friend down there, and they've met. Lauren and Carter have met, so. They have no idea that they've now made the podcast. Oops. And on that note, Rick, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Ralph.
Good job.
Janita, thank you. Andy.
She saw me
As
this time.
always, I saw you. You disappeared again. Cherry.
Thanks, Sarita.
And we'll see you next time on the Burrows of Berea.
See
Peace
ya.
out.
Bye.
Hey guys, this is Rick from the Burrows of Berea. Do you know how much blood, sweat, and tears it takes to make a podcast? None. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't cost a lot. And so if you guys don't mind, if anybody would like to give to help us with these episodes, it would be great. We'll put out even more content. And if you go to our Patreon page, just search for the Burrows of Berea, you'll get extra notes, extra episodes, and it's pretty much free. $1 gets you a lot. Thanks, guys.
Does she know what she's getting into?
Yes, she does.
She does
She
now.
has no clue. All right. Well, good.
Right. I tell you what, I did one of these shows one time, and I don't think the guy read the press kit. And so he starts talking about a book that I didn't write.
Oh, no.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Oh man, this is going to be tough.